Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about the film A Knight's Tale, starring Heath Ledger. This is, in many ways, a film that captures the essence of A Knight's Tale without adhering too strictly to a period presentation of that tale, because there are some anachronisms in this film, and I don't think they detract from really telling the story of what it is to be a knight, of telling the story of bravery, of honesty, even through deception. In the film, we have a young Will Thatcher, played by an actor whose name escapes me, playing the young Heath Ledger, whose father decides that in the hopes of getting his son a better life, not growing up to be a thatcher, a person that does thatch roofs, I should say, that he will sign his son on to a knight as a retainer. So he does. The story essentially progresses, and the film opens with the retainers having to deal with the knight that they are assigned to take care of. They're their hirelings. They're there to make sure that his armor stays repaired and he makes it to his meets, and that they give him all the support that he needs to be a knight. I once heard it said that a knight and his warhorse, in the combination of equipment and training and everything, would be equivalent to, in the real world, in our era, about an F-16 and the pilot that flies it. There's a lot of investment in a knight, in equipment and training and the horse that they ride. It's not just a simple guy slaps some metal on his body, puts a sharp stick in his hand, and hops on a horse. There's a lot to it. Well, when the film opens, the knight in question has not really upheld the knightly code well. He is apparently a drunkard. And in the opening sequence, a drunkard who then promptly dies, leaving his retainers in a lurch. They don't even eat regularly. Their next meet is coming up. They have no one to fight, which means they're not going to get any kind of prize, which means they're not going to be able to eat again. So, Heath Ledger's character, Will Thatcher, steps into the role of knight, figuring a guy in armor looks like a guy in armor. No one will know. We'll pull it off this once. We'll make a win, and then we'll disappear into the night. Well, he kind of discovers he likes being a knight, and he convinces his two compatriots that they can pull this off. They can present themselves as a knight and retainers, and who's going to know the difference? But in the process of this scam, Will Thatcher turns into something he never thought he'd actually be, something that he hadn't really dreamed of since he was a child. And that is, he becomes a knight. He begins to live by the code of honor, of chivalry. He may have entered it through a deception, but he shows that he actually carries that code in his heart much more truly and fully than most of the noble-born knights that he deals with on a daily basis, or at the tournaments, I should say. He makes a name for himself. He actually encounters a prince and actually fights the prince in battle, where most people won't, because it's a prince. You don't want to knock a prince from his horse. You're likely to end up hung. But he sees the prince for what he is, a fellow knight looking for a challenge. And of course, he finds a love interest. They pick up a couple of more retainers, including a young Chaucer. Apparently, there was a 6-month period in Chaucer's real life where he kind of went off the radar. So the director decided to put that as the period that this film takes place in, and Chaucer essentially becomes the fight promoter for this knight and his retainers. They also pick up a female smith. Apparently, it was legal for a woman to continue being a farrier if her husband died, if he had been a farrier. But it was illegal for her to be an armorer. And in the film, she is an armorer. So they have this renegade armorer, female armorer, working for them. And this group of individuals really struck me in many ways as a classic D&D adventuring party. You have your main character, and you have your support. You have rogues and experts and things like that, all, and a bard, all working together to achieve an end. He, of course, picks up an enemy, a vile blackguard who he has to deal with in combat and show up to the world for what he is. He's not a knight at all. Will Thatcher is. And of course there's a happy ending, as you can't have A Knight's Tale without a happy ending. And if you do rent this on DVD, watch it without the commentary. It's a great film. It's a lot of fun. But watch it with the commentary, because the director's in there as well as the actor that plays Chaucer, and it was really quite entertaining listening to their stories about the production of the film. It was not an easy shoot. A lot of the extras didn't speak English, so there was a lot of pantomiming to get people to do things, which was quite entertaining. But at the end of the film, after all the credits have rolled, there's a little 30-second film clip that I thought was quite humorous, and I thought was a nice end cap to the entire experience. So take a look at that. Now, there were people who complained about the anachronisms, and I don't think they detract from the story, because while they wouldn't have taken place in period, the type of scenes depicted were the type of things that would have taken place in period if those same social constructs had been known. People did the things in the film that they would have done if they had been aware of all the social and cultural references in our world then. These are just ordinary people. They fart, they bleed, they drink, they gamble, they lie, they're noble. And that's what's important. Also, some people complain about the soundtrack because the director combines period music, instrumentals mostly, with contemporary film music. Queen and David Bowie, of course, are the two best examples I can think of in the film. And I think the fusion is just wonderful. It segues in slowly. It doesn't just smack you in the face when it happens. The David Bowie dance scene was just wonderful. It made me smile the first time I saw it, and it made me smile when I saw it again recently when I was listening to the commentary track with my wife. This movie's a lot of fun. It cannot be taken seriously, but it gets across the story of nobility and chivalry. And to me, there are times when that is far more important than historical accuracy, because let's face it, folks, how many truly historically accurate films have ever been made? Alright? I would be surprised if there was more than a handful, if that many. You probably would need all your fingers and thumb to count them all. So, if you like a good time, and you're a fan of Heath Ledger, and I think he was excellent in this role, I think it really showed his range, and it showed that he could buy into a character completely. He really sold me that he was a knight. I think it was a good example of why he got the role of the Joker and why he excelled at it so well. So I definitely recommend Knight's Tale. It was a good time, and when I put that DVD into my player, that's all I wanted.